Welcome to the Road to Human Kindness, Route 664, where you can plan, prosper, and pass on using the power of 664. That's a section of the tax code that Congress gave us back in 1969. Unfortunately, it's very underused, and it's underused because most people don't know how to navigate that section of the code and the other code sections that are similar to it. We call those sections Section 664. Those are the social charity sections that allow you to reduce your income, increase your income, reduce your taxes using charity. Most people don't know that that bargain exists, and we're trying to educate the public to make it clear that you can pay less tax. You don't have to pay the most that the law extracts. You have the right and privilege to reduce the taxes as much as possible. And when you reduce your taxes, you leave more to create income, to grow faster, to make things better for you in the future. We want you to endow yourself and make yourself wealthy and secure. And then when you pass on, to pass that on to the community. And those are the benefits that are given to you by Section 664. There is a wealth gap in the country, a significant wealth gap. We'd like to close it as much as possible. My guest today is Tamara Witham, and she is an advisor who works with underserved communities and trying to bridge that gap. Good afternoon, Tamara. How are you?
Good afternoon.
So, this is a unique situation right now in our country. We have a lot of things going on. We have a lot of people coming into the country. They're going to be new citizens at some point, or they're going to be people that are working in the workplace. And certainly they are probably not coming from much financial literacy. So, what's your plan? How are you going to help them?
Right. Well, part of my mission is to increase financial literacy for exactly that target audience. And these people oftentimes either, arrive in the US and just are not familiar with our financial systems. They come from very different kind of backgrounds. And also oftentimes first generation Americans that are in the US and growing up in households that maybe parents or grandparents even had come over from different backgrounds where they just have different exposures in different financial systems. So there is just so much to learn. And financial planning really is one of those areas that encompasses more than just investments. Usually people think just about investments when they think, oh, financial advisory, financial planning, but there's so much to know about the US system, whether it's tax planning, whether it's insurance knowledge, credit scores. There's just a lot of different variety of things that go along with financial wellness and financial literacy.
And
And
what I see today is I see a lot of Americans who are multiple generations that still don't know anything about it either. So I don't know that it's strictly, in some cases, the exposure of our community, our second and third generations have been growing up in a kind of a vacuum with regard to financial planning. And I think sometimes when you are closer to the needs of money all the time, you plan a little differently. You find that the people that you work with that are not used to our financial system, are they more conservative?
it's just case dependent. I have people from all over the world, and one common theme that I actually do find that is a thread when we do talk about investments and the kind of asset exposure that they might have had previously. Typically they might be more comfortable with real estate investing rather than what I think of as the liquid markets, our stock markets, our bond markets that are tradable securities. And so that's one kind of thread that I have seen from clients coming from different areas outside of the US. There's no other true common theme that I've experienced. Everyone is unique and has unique needs and goals, truly, when they get here.
So how do you take someone through the process? What do you do? What's the first thing you do when somebody comes to you and
Right. Well, it's really to figure out where they're at and what their needs and goals are. And oftentimes, folks aren't entirely even sure what that is. And so we really try to take a step back and get a real picture of their financial exposures. And, sometimes I think of myself as a risk detective, and I put on my risk detective hat and try to
yeah,
figure out where are the holes in the plan. because you don't know what you don't know. And so that's why we take kind of a very general view at the beginning and then really drill down once we figure out what's needed for that
And,
individual situation. And
in
it's
one of my
completely
recent
customized.
interviews, in one of my recent interviews with a financial planner similar to yourself, he says, "Where does it hurt?"
Yeah.
So,
Well,
yeah.
hopefully we're not inflicting too much pain. And my goal is to really get in front of any kind of inflicted pain that they might experience and try to really get a sense of where things are, what kinds of strategies are needed and actions are needed, and really kind of figure out what's immediate and what's medium term and what's long term. And,
Mhm.
we just try to strategize, first of all, and then take action steps to fill those gaps.
So when you're engaged in that technique, I mean, I understand that you're probably focusing people more on all these things. What do you have a specific tool that you use or a technique?
Well, outside of tools, I have a lot of different technology tools that help me. I have financial planning software, tax planning software, which are very useful, but it's really coming down to sitting down and listening. I mean, if you talk about any kind of tool, it's just, first of all, listening and understanding and trying to take it all in and then communicate back and say, these are what the recommendations are. Does that fit your goals? And am I hearing you correctly? And so there is a systemic process that we go through in terms of financial discovery. I call it a discovery meeting, and then we do get organized meetings because there is a process there. But in general, it's very customizable to each individual.
How long have you been how long have you been a CFP?
Yeah, I became a CFP about 5 years ago. I opened up my own business after, let's see, 2017 is when I became the CFP, and I started my own registered investment advisory firm in 2018.
So was it easier then or harder than for a woman to enter the field? Is it do you think it's a good field for women to enter?
Oh, it's a great field for women. Half of my client base outside of people that come in from outside of this country or first generation Americans are women that might not necessarily fit that description. But I find generally women like to deal with other women for whatever reason, whether we're maybe better listeners or there's some kind of personal connection there or understanding that maybe gets lost when there's a male advisor. But thinking back, to 2017 or 18, I came from a long history of working on Wall Street. And I would say, in general, that would be a more difficult environment working for the big firms as a
Mhm.
woman than to work in personal finance.
Doing what you're doing?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, building my own business, I'm ultimately responsible to my clients and to myself.
What did you do before you became a CFP? You were in the you were a registered investment advisor or in an advisory firm?
Yeah, so I became a registered investment advisor in 2018 when I started my own firm. But when I worked on, the traditional finance jobs on Wall Street, I was working for big names like Goldman Sachs Asset Management, Pacific
Hmm.
Investment Management, and those were in roles that were dealing with clients, but those roles were institutional client based.
Hmm.
And I worked on the fixed income market, the bond side of the market, explaining portfolio theory to endowments, foundations, pension plans.
At that time, were you fee based or you were only commission based?
So those were just salary jobs with plus bonus.
Oh,
Those were
really?
not
Okay.
actually selling.
Really? Okay.
And, I had started in, we're going back into the 1990s, but I had started in a sales job out of business school that was not commission based, but, obviously your ability to sell was directly aligned with what you were receiving at the end of the year. That was in a sales and trading role at Nations Bank, which became Bank of America. And that wasn't my personality. I'm not a salesperson. I don't enjoy it. And I felt like I could add a lot more value outside of the sales role.
You're fee-based, right?
So, yes. So the way I structured my company was very much to figure out what is in alignment with the best interests of the client, to be a true fiduciary. And my feeling is that by being fee-based, which is only a very small percentage of all financial advisors in the United States, it's at roughly 2%. To be fee only is really in the interests of the client. So they know exactly when they hire me what they're going to be paying. And my trading or recommendations is always in alignment with their best interest. I'm not making any type of commission or fee. It's just something that we're completely transparent. It's upfront and in their agreement.
That's good. So, and I think a lot of people would rather deal with fee-based people because they don't think they're being sold something in a sense.
Exactly. I think there's a growing awareness around this, and I think raising awareness about the various structures of how financial advisors in general are paid. I think people are becoming much more savvy and aware of that, and really looking much closer at who's making commissions and what's their incentive behind their recommendations.
My guest is Tamara Witham, and she is a certified financial planner and an analyst working on a fee basis out of New York. And we'll be right back.
Our protagonist, Jack, was a 65-year-old retiree who'd always been known for his offbeat sense of humor and love for numbers. He'd been searching for a way to support his community while securing his retirement income. One day, while browsing through the depths of the internet, Jack stumbled upon an article about Tax Code 664 and its potential benefits for charitable planning.
Hello, welcome to today's edition of Route 664, the road to humankind.
Curious and excited, Jack decided to delve further into this mysterious code. He spent hours poring over tax law books and articles until he became a self-proclaimed expert on the subject. He'd tell his friends, "Who needs Sudoku when you've got tax codes to crack?" Armed with his newfound knowledge, Jack approached his financial advisor, Martha, and shared his idea of utilizing Tax Code 664 to set up a charitable trust. He was convinced that this strategy would benefit not only his retirement, but also his beloved community, particularly the revitalization of the local park. With a twinkle in her eye, Martha acknowledged Jack's enthusiasm and praised his resourcefulness. Together, they devised a plan to establish a charitable trust that provided Jack with a stable retirement income and directed the remaining funds towards renovating the park. Word of Jack's innovative approach spread like wildfire, inspiring others in the community to explore the potential of Tax Code 664. Soon, more and more people began implementing charitable planning strategies to support various community projects, ranging from building a new animal shelter to establishing a local art center. As Jack took his daily strolls through the newly renovated park, he couldn't help but smile. His Tax Code 664 adventure had not only secured his retirement, but also transformed the community in more ways than he could have ever imagined. With a wink and a grin, Jack would often say, "Looks like the joke's on boring retirement plans." Who knew tax codes could be so much fun? Who? Remember, your financial journey can be both impactful and entertaining when you explore the potential of charitable planning with Tax Code 664. Visit EndowAmerica.com. With the right knowledge and guidance, anyone can turn their dreams into a reality. Leave a lasting legacy that benefits generations to come. EndowAmerica.com. Plan, prosper, pass on. The power of 664.
And we're back. Tamara Witham wants to be directing her attention to the underserved communities and to first-generation Americans, giving them the financial literacy that they need to be able to be successful. And it doesn't come quickly, right? You have to build. I would assume you have to build relationships, right?
Oh, clearly. I mean, this is something that takes time. And, I do find that referrals from my current client base, folks that have found me through personal connections or even through Find an Advisor websites, they see the good work that we're doing and can realize and really feel more comfortable. I mean, a lot of what I do is not only save folks money through the financial planning process, but I also take away a lot of anxiety. People come to me really unsure about how to think about their futures and how to plan effectively. And I think part of what I do is allow folks to sleep better at night.
Yeah, that's part of the road to human kindness. People are kinder when they're less anxious and they can devote more time to their spiritual beings and work in their genius. You sound like you like what you're doing.
I love what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I mentioned I worked, for a long time on Wall Street. I never really felt that fulfillment of finding kind of your true calling. And I enjoy working with people on a personal level, which was something that was missing from my job working with institutional investors previously. And it's also, I have to say, a real challenge every day waking up and running my own business. It's something I never pictured myself doing 10, 15 years ago. But, there's
But you like it, you like doing what you're doing. You can do it 24 hours a day, right?
That's clear. Yes, I agree with that.
We
It's
call that
true.
working at your genius, and that's a great thing to be able to work at your genius, and especially to be comfortable in your work, because that's
Right.
that's
And,
really important.
ultimately, I think there's always this, ever since COVID, I think there's been a real more awareness towards work-life balance and trying to achieve that, whether you're a millennial or Generation X. And folks are kind of incorporating that into their thinking, whether it becomes a discussion currently, how do I achieve that? Or what is my retirement going to actually look like going forward in the future? Do I want to keep on working? What kind of work? And all of these things can be taken into consideration when we're thinking about someone's future. And so it's not only finding satisfaction today, but also really thinking long term about what kind of balance do I want. And truthfully, a lot of folks have really incorporated thinking about working into their retirements. It doesn't have to be black or white.
Yeah, I
I
don't think
think,
retirement is what it was before. I think, first of all, I think it's much more difficult for people to be able to retire on everything they were making before they were retired.
yeah,
That's a problem. We help try and do that with what we're doing with endowment engineering, trying to create endowment for the individual using, favorable tax sections of the code to make it easier. If they can pay less tax to get more income. What role does tax play in your planning?
yeah, I'm so glad you asked that question because it's becoming a much bigger focus, I think, not only for my firm, but for others as well. I mean, just taking a step back, I think traditionally the CPAs out there, they're really, we're finding on the financial planning side, there are just less and less of them. Fewer people are practicing CPAs today, and those that do practice have less and less time to do tax planning. And so I think there's a real opportunity for financial planners that have the resources to be able to go into that tax planning space. That's not to
Mhm.
say we're giving tax advice, there is a delineation there. But we can start looking into tax planning strategies and work hand in hand with the CPA to really find those opportunities. I had just incorporated tax planning software into my own practice. This is something that some other financial planners have been doing. And the better the technology becomes, the easier it is for financial planners that are not CPAs to actually understand planning opportunities for their clients.
Yeah,
And
I think it's a big part of people's expenses, and I think one of the reasons that people are becoming more aware of it is that there are more people that are not working as W-2. They're working more in a 1099 and in the in the 1099 world, as opposed to the W-2 world or the K-1 world, you see what the taxes are in full. Whereas when they take them away from you every tax, every pay period, you don't really pay attention to them. And
Mm-hmm.
it's a big number. A lot
Right.
of people paying for a lot of Social Security out there and questioning whether or not it'll even be there in the future.
Right.
So, so when you're from my perspective, I've done work for a long time with a lot of clients who we've helped them, navigate their lives. I've done it long enough where I've seen it come to fruition, and I've seen lives end, and I've seen it pass on. And you're much younger than I am, but you're going to experience some of those things as you go forward. When you build these long-term relationships with your clients, uh, are you called on to do things that you don't really think you ever would be called on to do, where you get unusual requests?
I haven't yet.
No.
There isn't anything that's, kind of caught me off guard or, I would kind of categorize as unusual. Can you give me an example of like something that
I had a
unique?
call from somebody who needed a housekeeper, where you become almost like the family's office in a
Oh,
sense,
sure. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
There are some requests for what I think of as daily money managers, kind of there, and there's actually an organization of folks that do this job, where it's less planning oriented, less strategy and forward looking, and more
mm,
day-to-day housekeeping, like kind of
mm,
what you're discussing.
yeah,
um, that is something that I have been asked about previously and have referred out.
yeah. So anyway, I appreciate a lot, very very much your time this morning, spending it with us on the road to human kindness, Route 664. We have created an endowment engineering profession where we've created a society of endowment engineers, and that society of engineers is being educated on how to use these parts of the tax code that most people aren't that familiar with, so that they can help them, advise them. And then we have the engineers draw blueprints that can be given to the advisors of the client, so that the blueprints are a roadmap for them to follow. And that way everybody's on the same page. But do you ever use a blueprint?
No, I haven't, but I would love to see what you're referring to. I think it sounds fascinating. And I know that there are so many strategies and I think, advisors talk a lot about, let's say, college 529 plans, and that
Yeah.
has become so comfortable for us. But I think there is a lot of room to learn more about this type of strategy.
Yeah, it's
And,
664. Just like
yeah,
you know what a 401k is, or a 529, or a
100%, right?
1031, or a 1035. Everybody says, well, if you ask somebody, what does that mean? Where did it come from? They have no clue, but it's a section of the tax code, just like 664 is a section of the tax code. And that's what we want people to recognize, that 664 can be used under certain circumstances, just like, to use 529 for college education, or a 401k to create a retirement account, or an IRA, or a 1031 to do an exchange, or whatever. Those things are getting it. Those are in the common lingo, but 664 is not. And so we want people to become aware of it, that there are times in their lives where they're going to use that device or a device like it to help them reduce their taxes and increase their income. And they need to know when that is. And when they know that what that is, they can advise themselves using an endowment engineer.
Right.
That's our key. That's, I think, the most important thing we can do right now is spread the idea to build the charitable wealth of the country. And by building the charitable wealth of the country, we'll make it a better country and a better world, and everybody benefits. So I hope you'll come
Sounds
along
like
on
a
that road with us, Tamara.
synergistic,
Okay. Yeah,
wonderful initiative. And I would hope to, spread the awareness for it. I think
good.
it's a great
Well,
thing to do.
we'd like to do that with you as well. Thank you very much for joining us on Route 664, the Road to Human Kindness. And that's the show for today, folks.
Make the world a better place if we all just try. We could feed the whole human race. just try. No need to lock your doors if we all just try. Just a little bit, 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 just a little bit. Let's all celebrate love and never hate, 'cause life would just be great if we all got along. Let's all celebrate love, never hate, 'cause life would just be great if we all got along. Just a little bit. We can make the world a better place if we all just try. All the kids would have a happy face if we all just try. And we could teach the world if we all just try. Every boy and girl, if we all just try. Just a little bit, 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 just a little bit. Let's all celebrate love, never hate, 'cause life would just be great if we all got along. Let's all celebrate love, never hate, 'cause life would just be great if we all got along.
Let's get together, love each other, each one teaches one. We all really matter, this is for mankind. Your future and mine, bless the children of the world, say we're love at a time.
Just a little bit, 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 just a little